Hey everybody, how you doing? I feel a little bit low in the chair today, but it works there with the head and everything. Anyway, we were on a brief hiatus, Drum Mission channel, because I had a bunch of tours and stuff, and that comes up from time to time when you're a musician. And it was just too much, too much to try to do the videos and do that. And I'm not one of those guys who does, 10 things at one time. I try to do one thing, mediocre, and move on. So, today is another edition of Musicians on Couches Drinking Coffee. Musicians on Couches Drinking Coffee. And today we have a guy who's played with so many people in so many genres, right? So, I should have my little Spider-Man clipboard with me, but I don't have it. It's over there, and I don't want to get up and get it because I'm lazy, which is I think the cornerstone of all musicianship, is that we're lazy. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do things I don't want to do. I don't want to have some boss tell me, hey, would you mind getting those reports in by Thursday? No, I don't know. I don't know what reports is he talking about. I don't even do this stuff. So, anyway, his career started out like most of us in the clubs, and he's going to tell the story of how he ended up working with NSYNC, which led to Britney Spears. Okay, so for you old guys like me, you go, oh, Britney Spears, what's that, right? But come on, as much as to us, people like Dylan and McCartney and Lennon are icons, Britney Spears is to a generation, right? As much as, here's a side note, I can't stand, back in my day, it's sort of just a circle that repeats. If you look at stuff, it repeats slightly differently, but a lot of people are making music on their laptop. And yeah, the musicianship, you wonder and how that relates to, what was done in the 70s and Led Zeppelin and all that kind of stuff. But then you hear a person like Billie Eilish and you think, oh man, she's talented. And her voice is like haunting and beautiful. So put it out of your heads, this is my day. Screw your day. Anyway, Billy Ashpo is my guest today. Yes, Britney Spears, and then with other people, the list is long. It's long. And then you go on to people like Pat Benatar, right? Which if you're gonna pick somebody, how far away can I get from Britney Spears? It would be Pat Benatar, right? That would be one of the people. That would be one of the people you can get as far, stylistically, right? And now, Gloria Estefan is in there. There's a whole bunch of others. And now he's working with, excuse me, well, the Moody Blues and John Lodge, who really is the driving force in the Moody Blues, much of it. And he tours with them. And so the Moody Blues are probably the father of progressive rock. And all you prog rock guys, in my day we called it progressive rock, prog rock, a lot of, Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer were standing on the shoulders of what Moody Blues had started. So, and then with John Lodge. And then now a new project he's got, Alan Hewitt, who's the keyboard player from the Moody Blues, that really harkens back. When you listen to that stuff, it harkens back to Yes, and even some Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and I even hear some Styx in there. So really cool prog rock going on there. And, here's the thing. His chops are up here. His musicality is past the ceiling. You see what I'm saying? His chops are here. They're great. He has great chops, very high. His musicality is way up here. All right. Without further ado, man, I hope you enjoyed this one. A lot of good stories, and I threw in a love story. Very important. Very important for the love story. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Musicians on Couches Drinking Coffee presents Billy Ashpo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. How you doing today?
I am good, sir. How are you?
All right. Let me give you the official welcome to the Musicians on Couches Drinking Coffee video series on professional musicians, not just drummers, because we had Duffy too, and we had Mark Garner. They're not drummers, and we have clipboard, my official Spider-Man clipboard. I don't know if you can see
Very
that.
nice. Yeah.
These are Spider-Man approved questions. He was here last night. I don't know if you know. Not a lot of people know that I'm very good friends with Spider-Man. Very good friends.
I know these things.
He likes my pasta sauce. So he comes here. What's sad is when he's here having my pasta and his Spidey sense starts tingling, is somebody getting hurt? He just has another bowl. He says, they'll wait. They'll wait. It's all right. I just want another bowl. I feel bad for the person. I really do. But what can you do?
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
It's probably not true what I just said about Spider-Man. Okay. How you doing? How's I know you're getting ready for One Nation coming up. Duffy show's coming up with that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But let's start with you. And let's talk about when you started playing. I think I read somewhere it was around 15, 14.
Yes. Well, that's where the age where I got my first drum set. But I remember just, banging on pots and pans when I was little. I also remember my parents bought me one of those real small, cheap, that you get like at Walmart.
Right.
With the paper head, kind of thing. They're real inexpensive. I remember busting that up pretty quickly too. But it was around 15 when I got my first drum set. Yeah.
Now, like my family, my mother would have given blood to Mother Mary, if she could get me to stop being a musician. They would do anything to stop me being a musician. Was your family supportive? Did they dig it? Did they stay supportive? How does your deal coming up? Did you have brothers and sisters that were doing that?
I was the only one. I was the stray black sheep in the family. Only musician or artistic side. My sister went to college and studied to be a teacher and go that route. And right out of high school, I hit the road and was playing in rock bands and cover bands and top 40 bands and stuff. But no, my parents, I got great stories. Have been amazingly supportive over the years. Amazingly. And I can honestly say I wouldn't have had the success or been where I'm at if it wasn't for their support.
I think I'm always used to, when I was on cruise ships, I was a music director and I had to do shtick now and then. And I used to always say that I'm pretty much a musician on spite. The more my mom said no, the more I thought I'm going to do this anyway. So I've had an entire career based on spite. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Did you start with formal training, or did you? Go to a teacher, or what happened with you?
No, kind of self-taught. When I got that first drum set, when I was about 15, the guy we bought it from was a drummer in a local band. And he gave me a few lessons and then taught me like basic groove. And he said, "Oh, he's ready to go. He knows everything." And obviously, he wasn't the greatest teacher in the world. So then I became very self-taught and started playing for a living when I was 18, and kind of developed a lot of bad habits, if you will, because you're playing 4 or 5 nights a week, and I had no lessons, and I didn't have grip, and of course I knew nothing about reading music or rudiments or anything. And then I'd been playing, like I said, since I was 18 professionally, and then I think it was right around when I was 21. I was really stale with my playing and just needed fresh approach. So I started taking lessons for the first time, and opened up huge doors for me, many musical doors, which was great, and I don't regret that at all. But so nope, didn't start very early. Start playing at 15, and then not start really studying until 18. My gosh, there's so many kids out there now that by the time they're 8, they're already absorbing stuff that I've 10 years later to start. So.
Right. I think YouTube is partially responsible for that. Just much.
Yeah, when I was like 18 or 19, getting into drumming, there were only a few VHSs on this by this company DCI. They just had a handful of them, and you had to go into Thoroughbred or some big store and buy them, and it was there. Yeah, you're right. There was no access, so it's just amazing what's available.
My cousin Rob Wallace is the owner of Hudson Music Publishing, and
cool.
they did a lot of clinics with GAD and Caliuta. So I would get my cousin knew what I was doing, and I would get invited to that, and I'd get sometimes to hang out backstage with Mr. GAD or Steve Smith or some of them, and so absorbing. But yeah, now kids just get online and they have at their fingertips a cajillion videos about GAD and Caliuta, and of course the new guys.
Yeah.
It's a totally different ball game. So, but even in your playing, I was watching one of the clips from the cruise ship world with One Nation.
Yeah.
I was watching your playing, and you do definitely use though a lot of paradiddles and stuff like that in your playing as you're getting around the kit and you're moving around. And I wanted, so did you just find that on your own? Did you develop that style on your own, or did you somebody actually started to show you the diddles and all that kind of stuff?
Well, okay. No, I get what you're saying. Rudiments are like scales for a melodic instrument. They just teach a facility on your instrument. In our cases, it's with our sticks, so we're learning to control them, use the fingers, the wrist, the fulcrum, all the technical things, so that we get the stick to work for us, kind of thing. But rudiments are great. Books are great. Reading is great. But it's my opinion that is merely just what you feed on and what you work at to develop your own voice.
Right.
Rarely does anything come straight out of a book verbatim and become this killer thing at the gig. That's not how it is. I see it as ABCs and words, and then you're supposed to, create the conversation on your own. And what happened for me, and has happened for a lot of my students and people I've talked to, is that you just kind of get immersed in studying. And then over time, once you become really comfortable with something, then it becomes able to be played musically. But you have to go through that step, or long step. You have to put hours and hours. And then when stuff is comfortable and you stop thinking about what you're doing and it just becomes part of how you speak, then you can sit back. And I'm a fan, and I don't know if this makes any sense, but I like to set up a creative zone to practice in intentionally, close the books and think musically and try to bring those all those ideas that are regimented from the books into music. I don't want it to sound like it. I actually I wrote several articles for Modern Drummer magazine, and the last one that I just did that was released is on that, taking what you have comfortable and working on it to bring it to the gig. Rarely can I just show up and stuff flows out. And if stuff flows out, it's because I spent so much time in it. It's like, again, it's second nature, and that's what it takes. So my answer is that I developed that style that I have, like everyone does, through just sheer repetition. And what happens when you set on something for so long, an idea, the cream rises to the top, and next thing you know, there's something that it's just flowing now, and it's just part of how you're phrasing, because you took to it for whatever reason. Everybody has a learning curve, things they like, things that appeal to them as a player. Oh, I like that thing. Well, you're going to spend more time on that, and you're going to own it. Right. So yeah, all that.
It's funny that you said words, because I make most of my income by teaching. That's of my income, and everyone from 8-year-olds to 58-year-olds. I've got the gamut, and I've been playing a long time and touring and stuff. So, but I always say rudiments are like our words, and then you put them in, and that becomes your vocabulary, and then and that's what you use to communicate to the other musicians and to communicate to the audience and express your ideas. Just like you can't speak to anyone without using words, you need those words on the kit to express yourself in a really good way, but you're not thinking of every syllable as you're speaking, you're just letting it flow. And I can't. There's like a 3-month lag for me when I'm working on something out of a book, and I'm trying to get it down like a really cool lick or groove. I won't see it. It'll come out by playing naturally, but it takes about 3 months from the practice room to finding a way to make it comfortable in mine and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's about 90 days for me. So,
Well, you know, and remember, we're trying to bring this thing out musically when we're in the hot seat. We're at a gig. We're
Right.
performing. So, you know, even if it's a local gig, you know, it's still you got the players on stage, you got the people that are at the club, you know. So, yeah, it's muscle memory is huge in my world.
I was looking up on your career, and it's very impressive career, by the way, very impressive. But there's a couple things I want to talk about and how you got there, how you got to that point. In sync.
Yes.
Sync for a while, and that's very cool. So talk about your career a little bit in the beginnings of your career. What was your first, and I hate to use this word because, you know, you like major gig where you thought, oh, I'm not playing bars anymore. This is what I'm doing. And then how does that lead to bands like NSYNC? I saw Britney Spears on there, all these really cool, obviously, gigs, you know, that everybody would want to play. And how do we get from playing the local club to there? What was the connection? Was it an agent? Was it a guitar player that invited you, or?
At the end of the day, luck, in one word.
Right.
But it's much deeper than that. So yes, it's luck that opened the door, but for whatever reason, I credit my parents for just instilling discipline in me when I was young. So my point being that when I first started playing, as soon as I started playing out, I always recorded myself and listened back, and I was that guy. I always took the extra step to get better. And I was just playing down the club, you know, down the street at a club. It wasn't like I'm at Madison Square Garden, but you know, I remember doing that from the beginning, and that really helped my progress and my work ethic. It just really got me in a good spot. So anyway, fast forward, and I'm just doing my thing at a club. And the long story short is I had an ex-girlfriend that was a keyboard player, piano player. And we were in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. And when we split up, mutually, it was still good terms, thank goodness. She moved to Orlando. Well, she met this rapper, Turbo B, with the group Snap. That song, I Got the Power, early 90s, a dance song.
Right.
But at any rate, and he was putting together at the time an all-girl band to take overseas to Europe and Japan and stuff, because he had several dance hits. And at the time, when I broke up with my then girlfriend, I started dating my now wife, who's a drummer. So, and my ex knew that, but we were cool. So she ends up calling and saying, "Hey, Billy, this guy over here is going to go out on tour and he wants a female drummer. You know, my wife's Jenny." And he goes, "Can she come audition?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks." You know, so anyway, she goes over, gets the gig. She goes to Europe for, I don't know, she's probably a good year or two with them. And what she did was she kept talking so much about my husband plays, my husband this, wouldn't shut the hell up about me. So we get a call. It's right before Christmas. Must have been 90 or 91. And it was a Turbo, the rapper guy. And he asked if I wanted to come out and both of us and do like a dual drumming thing. So I was like, wow, Merry Christmas to us. It was wonderful. So we're kids, you know, we just got married. We're in our early 20s. So for about 3 years, we just would pack up and go on tour for a few months and then come back and you know, rotate from family member to kind of living out of a suitcase. It was really cool. But that's what opened up that whole world, was with this guy. Now, it wasn't a big major tour, you know, it's, you know, decent venues, but, you know, not crazy. But where things got really interesting was his manager at the time was Johnny Wright, who was manager with Backstreet Boys. I'm sorry, New Kids on the Block years ago. Right. So fast forward, Turbo's thing is done and we're moving on and doing other things. And I get a call randomly a few years later from Johnny Wright. And he said, "I got this band I'm putting together here in Germany and they need a drummer. And they're called the Backstreet Boys." And I said, "Well, I had to turn it down because I was right in the middle of recording a project, like literally like 6 tracks through. I said, "I'm sorry, dude, I can't." So they got someone else. And then go and behold, 6 months later, I come home from this, you know, knife and gun, smoky little shitty club. And I sit, flip on Saturday Night Live, and who's on? The Backstreet Boys. I said, "You got to be kidding."
Oh, man.
I said, boy, did that boat ever just sail without me? So anyway, I kicked myself in the butt for a few months. And then the phone rang again. And Johnny says, "I got another band." And I said, "I'm in. I don't even care who they are, what they're called. Just put me in." And it was NSYNC. So
all right.
Go figure that thing would blow up like it did. I had no idea that it would, I don't think anyone did, that it would take off like that. But from that, literally, if not literally, very well connected, everything else came from it. Everything. We were playing in Anaheim, and Pat Benatar had 2 daughters who were teenagers at the time, huge NSYNC fans. So she comes out with her husband and her kids, and we're backstage, in catering, meeting her, acting like little goofy fans,
Right.
So they hang out and see the show, and come to find out they weren't happy with the drummer. They were getting ready to replace him for whatever reason. And Neil, her husband, and the guitarist was out by the front of the house watching the show, and he had the front of the house guy mix my drums and the loop and click thing that we were playing with, busted over to a mixer, and he put on headphones and listened to the whole show of me playing. I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
He goes, dude, he was checking you out the whole show. I said, oh, God, you kidding me? So anyway, a couple weeks later, he calls and asked if I would be interested in joining them and going out with Pat. And the timing was perfect, but NSYNC was just winding down. And I literally had a couple of months. I remember I did a clinic tour back then with DW, routed down the East Coast for a couple of weeks, and then had like maybe a week off and then went right out with Pat. So that's where that whole connection.
That's great. And I like that. I'm very much a big Steve Gadd fan, grew up with that kind of thing. And I got to hang with him a couple of times. But that idea of, so NSYNC and Pat Benatar, I would put them at pretty far ends of the rock spectrum, right? Because I would think NSYNC is very clicked out, and I did an interview a little bit ago with Sandy Gennaro, who played for Cyndi Lauper. Yeah. And he said Cyndi would tell you, if there's no cymbal crash on the record, don't cymbal crash. It was that controlled. So you played that show, and Cyndi is great. That's not against Cyndi, but her thing was she was recreating the recording on stage, every drum fill, everything like that. And obviously, he also played for Pat Travers and the Monkees, which was not the same. And it seems that way with you. So what was your kit like with NSYNC, and what was your approach there in comparison with Pat Benatar? Did you use a bigger kit with them? Did you use a smaller kit with them? Or electric drums?
NSYNC's kit was bigger. Just it kind of grew, and there was some electronics, in there, and all that. But and interesting on what you were saying about like the artist and sort of having those handcuffs on, in a good way, for the music.
Right.
Whoever calling this thing, it's not a drum record, or a drum show by any stretch. When we first started with NSYNC and the musical director, Kevin, he was very adamant about following kick and snare parts and like almost like you were saying, just like the show, but it ended up morphing into this thing over tours where it became much more open, which is to me it's fun if you're allowed that freedom. You got to carefully pick your spots. But the kit, my kit was quite a bit larger. But I had it like with Pat was just a standard 5-piece kit with a few crashes and a splash into China. It wasn't much big with NSYNC, but like I said, had some electronic stuff, some chimes, a second snare to the left, high pitch snare for certain, dancey stuff or different feeling songs. But yeah, pretty similar. Maybe an extra floor tom or something,
Right.
Yeah.
So with Pat, did she let you sort of do your own thing, and the handcuffs were off, and you were just sort of creating the essence of what was on the recording, as opposed to
Pat was really cool. Really didn't have much to say to me. I mean, she's super nice, very nice, and just a sweet lady. But like musically, it was, it was kind of Neil's the one that was like, the music director, and him and I and Mick, the bass player, would get together and work on things. But the only thing that she did say one time in the bus, she goes, "You're the loudest effing drummer I've ever played with in my life." She goes, I love it. That's a great thing. But you're loud. Yeah, I remember the first sound check with her. And we're doing a full run through of some song, and we didn't get 4 measures into it. And her manager comes running up. Stop hitting that snare so loud, and he said, don't hit it so hard. You can't get Pat's voice in the PA. She goes, shut up. She goes, get the plexi. And she turns to me and says, she goes, play like you play. You just put him in plexi. I was like, oh, cool. So
That's
she
good.
left
That's
me
good.
that freedom, she liked the energy, so they're like,
Right.
Call a room, put him in plexi and let him play. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
but no, it was open, but again, I didn't step outside much more than what the parts were.
The parts were right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's a lot of classic, signature stuff there.
So then when does, I wasn't quite sure the chronology, and just because she's such an iconic figure, and I think she's kind of cool. So when does Britney happen in that?
Oh, Britney was off from NSYNC. So Britney's thing was Johnny's management picked up Britney right when she was getting started. And she was actually an opening act for NSYNC for a while. And what happened with her is before she could get a band, she blew up so big. So she was doing her first TV performance, which was Rosie O'Donnell's show, that morning show years ago.
Oh, all right.
And so the NSYNC band basically backed her for that and did her first hit on that. And then a few months later, there was, I think it was Nickelodeon Teen Choice Awards or one of those shows. She was on it again. We were there and ended up, backing her in that sense. And then,
How old were you at this time?
Oh, good 35.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
35, 36, yeah.
All right. Go on.
Yeah, it didn't happen when I was young, that's for sure.
So then through Nickelodeon, you met Britney's manager, or what happens there?
Well, no, Britney, NSYNC's manager was managing Britney.
Okay.
Johnny Wright. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how we just got the gig, because they're like, well, here we got a band, NSYNC's not working, use these guys while we put her band together. So we did a couple gigs with her that way.
So
That's how that.
did you end up doing some recordings with her, or just live shows?
No, just a couple live shows was it.
Live shows, and that was really, I mean, after the Nickelodeon thing, that was sort of her coming out, right? When she was really beginning to get popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool though. That's cool that she's on your resume, because it caught my eye, because she's such an iconic figure with all that hoopla around her, right? And when you see that, you go, oh, wow, he was with, like, I wouldn't have. And after watching most of what I've seen you play is with One Nation through Duffy King, who's worked with John Lodge with you.
Yes.
That was the one that surprised me the most, that was on your Britney, because again, it seems, I love that. All right. So in a different way, I've always emulated that in myself. Like, I started out doing a lot of theater, Godspell, Cabaret, off Broadway in New York, right? Played with Dick Wagner. I toured with him. He was Alice Cooper's guitar player and all that kind of stuff, right? It was my big rock. I also, I do a jazz trio thing here. I like doing it all. If you call me, I'm going to show up. And I got just loving Mr. Gadd, who I saw him in 2 weeks, Billy, 2 weeks. I saw him on a Tuesday in Central Park, because I'm from New York, with Paul Simon. And I saw him a week later with Al Di Meola at the Ritz.
Oh.
I'm going to talk about how far away can I get from style to style, right? He's playing with Anthony Jackson, Jan Hammer, and Al Di Meola at the Ritz, reading charts on, 7/8, 11/8, all this kind of stuff. And then he's with Paul Simon, and he did each of them at a 10 level. You know what I mean? And I thought, yes, that's a drummer. And I like that about him, because he said that to me at one point. He said, don't try to be a jazz drummer, rock drummer, or anything. Just be a drummer. The phone rings, you go. That was his thing. And I love that you have on your resume Britney Spears. I got Gloria Estefan, right? Of course, NSYNC, and some of those guys, and then John Lodge, Moody Blues. You've got that on your resume, which diametrically opposed. That is something. So,
it's pretty wise. Very lucky in that sense. Yeah.
So, how does the John Lodge thing come to be?
from the Moody's. You know, I was joined them at the end of 2015. So our first tour started up in 2016. And was out a couple of years with them.
All right,
You know.
so let's go back further even than the Moody Blues, because that to me, following your career, is a moment where I see you start playing really more the progressive thing. You know, the progressive rock thing, as far as, you know, Pat Benatar, although she's definitely different than NSYNC, you're still in that. I'm going to get, for the people that are not drum guys, out of the 4/4 range and started to do with, you know, more odd meter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Blues is probably one of there are a few bands that I call one of the forerunners of progressive rock, you know,
Yeah.
in the classical stuff, and Moody Blues would be in that category. So how does and don't take this the wrong way, the NSYNC guy and that guy end up playing with the Moody Blues? Because that is way cool. That is
This is also just luck, but that's one of these tentacles that connected to my exposure from NSYNC. So fast forward many, many years, and there's a drumming website called Drummer World, and they had put a profile up on me back when I was with NSYNC, a little bio and a bunch of pictures and a few videos, and it was just part of their content. It's been up there forever. Well, when the Moody's were looking to replace their drummer, Alan, the keyboard player, was going through the internet, and come to find out from chatting with him later that he just accidentally clicked a button by mistake and my profile came up. And he kind of was watching me and listening, and he just thought, wow, that's a good mixture, a good fit for the Moody's. And it was just completely random thing. So I get this email. Now I had quit touring with Pat 04. Was my last tour, and it was personal because I was missing my daughter. I wasn't connecting being home, and it wasn't worth it anymore. So I quit touring in 04 and basically taught and just did side projects, if you will, not even a lot of playing locally, all the way up till I joined the Moody's. So when Alan had reached out, I get this email randomly. This is Alan Hewitt with the Moody's. I thought it was somebody messing with me. So I put it away. I'm like, and then I went back to it later that day, and I said, oh, okay, let me just respond and see what's up. And it was legit. And he said, hey, you want me to throw your name in? And I was like, well, sure. So it just evolved that way. So yeah, he randomly reached out and connected to me by mistake off of this website that just had some
cool
on me. So that's just one of those weird things, you know. And that opened up the whole touring thing again, because I hadn't toured in years and years, or played that much.
When did you start touring with Moody Blues again? After
2016.
16. Wow. So you took about 10 years off from touring.
Yes.
That's
more like
that's good though. That's good. Raising your daughter. I mean, I kind of did that.
Yeah. I don't regret it. No.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, happens in time. I will say this. I didn't tell Alan or no one in the Moody's that I hadn't played, let alone toured for some 10 or 12 years. So the best analogy I could give it is I felt like a fighter training to come out of retirement to go back.
Right.
I spent so much time playing for a good 3 months. So I had a good 3 months before the rehearsal and tour to get all this material and dust them off. And I went through so many pair of sticks. I was practicing 6-8 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
Just because I had to have stamina. I had to have all the stuff that you lose. I had to get new chops. I had to get all this new stuff going with the Moody material. And I told my wife, I said, I want to do the first gig and I want to come off stage and feel like I just finished a 3-month tour. I said, that's the comfort zone I'm going for. And that's where that muscle memory comes in. And I literally just played that damn show so much. I had it memorized.
After the pandemic and having a year off, I did the last 2 weeks, I did a couple of small little tours. One with one of the guys from the Verve Pipe, Donnie Brown. He was the drummer from the Verve Pipe. He's playing guitar now, doing his own thing.
Oh, nice.
And then of course, I did a couple of nights with Duffy, and Duffy does long shows. And Duffy likes to do those long 2-hour sets, and but after now a year and a half, I definitely was practicing and working on stuff. But I found out, the gig chops, sitting down and playing for 2 hours. And it took a couple of nights that I didn't feel like I just got ran over by a tractor trailer after the show, right? And my hands hurting and leg cramping And
You are correct.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm 59. Although I don't look a day over 58, you know.
You got that going.
I got that. I'm like 58 and a half look wise, but
Yeah, yeah.
and but still, I felt the year and whatever it is, 5 months, not really playing the gig, which is different than playing in your room. It is definitely different.
Oh, night and day. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And the
Which-
pressure
yeah.
of getting it
That's
right
what-
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so grateful that I put that 3 months in of work because I knew when I got to rehearsal in the first show, you know, to some degree, all that's going to go away. That's just preparing you for what's getting ready to happen, you know?
Let's talk a minute about Martin Drummer. And Duff mentioned that to me, that you've been involved with them for a lot, and being articles about you. And do you
Yeah,
do something in them, or you wrote a bit for them for a little while, or something? Like
yeah.
that?
I've written 3 articles so far, you know, little feature articles.
Right.
And
How does that connection happen to Martin Drummer? That always seemed like the ghosts. The you know, how does that come to be? That's really cool that you were in there.
yeah, I honestly credit social media. So like a lot of musicians, when this thing hit, you know, a year or so ago, like, holy shit, scratching your head going, wow, okay, now what? And one day I had out my old hard drives, and my mom was real good at taping every single show I ever was on in the world, you know, with NSYNC and everything. And I had switched them all over to digital format recently. So I'm looking through them and going, wow, you kind of lose track of like what you do, you know what I mean? Because you know, you do it and you go. So I'm looking at going, wow, I got a lot of cool gigs here. I thought, let me just try posting some stuff, because I'm never that guy. I don't ever do that. Though I have all of the social media accounts, they've got cobwebs on them. I never
Right.
at all. So I started doing that and started getting feedback. And then I started posting some old lessons I did from a drumming website when I wasn't touring for years. And I started to get this feedback, and it started rolling. And I did it good for about 6 months. And so the reason for all this yapping is a lot of people, not a lot, quite a few people reached out to me that I completely had fallen out of touch with, right, over the years. Just because you go by like a billboard, you know, down the road. Oh, that guy, let me reach out, you know. And I got a bunch of that. And you start meeting people and doing stuff like this and interviews. Well, one of those guys was David Hakim, who is now involved in Modern Drummer. Well, at the time, I knew him years ago. I did a VHS DVD for Warner Brothers years back with Bob Gatson, an inspiring series, he called it, with NSYNC play along and stuff. And that's how I met and connected with David. And then we just go our ways, and they, you know, we're doing our own thing. But I know I've showed up on his timeline or something, or he saw a post, thought of me, and he just reached out, and we just connected and started talking, and we just chat for hours and stuff. And then come to find out that he just came on board at Modern Drummer. We start talking. He says, well, hey, would you like to like maybe contribute an article or something? I said, oh, are you kidding me? I said, never written, but I got ideas and a lot of crap to talk about. So I said, let me try it. So I typed up this thing, which was the first, which was really just practice tips, just crap I've learned over the years to be effective and efficient when you practice and make your time, you know, very, very important for me. And he loved it, and everything was cool. So I sent it on, and they printed it, and I've done a couple more. And we got some things in the works we're talking about. But it was one of those, another strange, just luck. But, you know, more in this case, I think just being present, you know, on social media.
Right.
Makes a difference.
That's, I like that you talk about, because in the end, a lot of the careers, there's being prepared for when the opportunity comes, but a lot of times the opportunity has to do with 50-60% luck, and then 45% being ready when the luck happens to happen, right? Being ready for the thing. And I got to do a couple of shows with Danny Serafine on dual drums with Dick Wagner. And when Dick passed away, we did a tribute, and it was me and Danny kind of playing together. And that's the whole thing. And Danny Serafine's one of my, you know, mentors. I cut my teeth on Chicago tunes, and we were having like pizza after the show or something. He said, you know, I'm getting to play with you. I really enjoyed playing with you, and blah, 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 blah. And I really like your pocket, everything. But it reminds me, he said this line to me, that how much luck is involved. Because had I not been in a band like Chicago at the time that I was doing it, in the 70s, probably no one would have ever heard of me,
Right.
because it was that band, because my style and that jazz rock style was not a thing back then. And it became a thing because of Chicago and all those great tunes. And that vehicle gave Danny the wherewithal to become Danny Seraphine, you know, and do all those great things. And I really, like I said, I have such great respect for him. And we got to do a little dual solo together. This is a cool thing. So I started throwing at him some of the licks I stole from him over the years. I would do 2 bars, he would do 2 bars. We went back and forth like for a little bit. It was fun. And I said, did you catch the in the beginning bit? He goes, I caught that. That was cool. So just so, but you know who he was, and be able to admit that, yeah, if it wasn't for that band,
Yeah.
it happened to me. And that is very cool. I just like for this channel for people who are doing this, you can make a living. You can make a living and not be famous. You know,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you can make a living. It's not the easiest. And you got to go when the phone rings. You got to go every time, you know, when the phone, and you got to be ready to play country. You got to be ready to play rock, whatever. You know, I say the only thing I probably don't play is heavy metal because I won't fit into the spandex anymore. I just can't do it anymore. You know, it's just beyond me. And I
You
don't,
gotta have limits.
yeah, I don't do the speed metal kind of stuff.
No, either.
no,
Yeah.
No, I can't do all that stuff, but a lot of different styles. So because I like to make my channel applicable to everybody, let's talk a little bit about the love story. I really dig this that you're married to a drummer. Female
Yeah.
drummer. And she had some credits of her national credits of her own
Mhm.
that she's done. So, you know, just a little bit. You don't have to get into detail, but how did you meet her?
Sure.
You know, for I do get actually women who watch my channel. I've gotten emails saying, "I really dig that you talk about stuff that I would care about." So
Yeah, sure. No, we met in Miami playing in a band, a big, like 13-piece house band for this big club on Miami Beach. And she was playing percussion, stand-up percussion, and I was a drummer.
Okay.
And that's literally how we met. And dated for a few years and then got married. But it's wonderful. I mean, obviously, you know, she gets my lifestyle. She gets what all this is about.
Right.
That whole, I hear, like, I'll often hear of musicians talking about the whole friction with their wife and not understanding the hours and jealousy for whatever reason, you know.
Exactly.
And it's like, wow, that's a world I just, thank goodness I'm oblivious to. So very
Right.
lucky. It's awesome. She's a great drummer. We are polar opposites, complete opposites with how we play and our approach and drumming in general. But in her own right, she's much better than I am at what she does, for sure.
She does a lot of percussion as well.
No, that was just something she did when she was younger. But she's straight drum set player.
Oh, great.
Now, when we did the dual drumming thing with Snap, right? For those few years, she morphed through different setups. But when she played, it was like with electronics. So it was electronic stuff. And then we built her an electronic kit setting down. So, you know, she would kind of play auxiliary percussion parts for some of the show, but, you know, sitting down as a drummer, and I would be the acoustic set drummer. So we kind of did we did a dual, like a drumming. I got to find it. It's somewhere on the hard drive. We were in Russia doing a White Nights festival. I think it was 1992. And we got to do this dual drumming thing, which was kind of cool. It was fun, a lot of fun. So
you could do a couple of videos of that. I think that'd be really cool for you and your wife to do, to watch you do some not in a competitive way, but do just kind of groove stuff. I have a couple of guys around here that I do. We do gigs where either they play percussion or I play percussion, and we do that kind of, you know, drums, percussion. And I always just have fun playing with a percussion player. It's just always fun to find a different approach to what you're doing to give them the room to do what they got.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to play the duh of two because they got it. I'll let them do it. You know what I mean? That kind
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about. Oh well, I want to bring this up. There's one thing I forgot because Duffy told me about it, and I thought this was really cool. When you were touring with John Lodge, you guys got to hang with Carl Palmer a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That was interesting. That was a fun tour. I hope we get to do that again. Yeah.
yeah. He was telling me about that.
He's hilarious. He's a funny guy.
Carl?
He's high strung. That dude has got some amazing energy. Amazing. Crazy respect for him. At his age, to be in basically two bands on this tour. And when they played, we're talking 99% of the time, heat of the day. So he had to, do his thing with Carl Palmer and then catch a quick breath and then change his shirt and then jump up there as Asia, And he did that every night, like
And that's very different kinds of playing as well. The Asia thing is much more pocket oriented, and of course,
yeah.
Carl Palmer, he's being the blistering fast, all sorts of stuff like that.
Every day, every night,
Yeah.
in that sun, drum solos, and just come off the stage drenched. I'm talking after show one, I was like, wow, yeah, and cool guy. Yeah, it was very neat to hang with him.
For me, I think, although not to your level of success that way, but to me, the moments I enjoy the most is getting to meet some of my heroes, and I got some of my heroes like Gad or Danny Seraphine, or even rock icons like when I worked with got to work with Mark Farner from Grand Funk. I just remember playing his tunes on the 8-track in my Chevy Malibu. You know what I mean? And on stage playing behind him for Dick Wagner. So that was a very cool thing. I think that's almost more better to me than the gig itself. Just getting to hang with some of these people that I grew up with, and the surrealness of it. So coming up with One Nation, I know Duffy said there's tours and maybe in the fall or some stuff on the album, and you're on the album, right? You are on the
Yes.
Has the album been released yet?
Nope, I believe September 17th is the date, if I'm not.
So the recording is finished, right? You're done with all the
Yes, we're done. And it's just getting printed up and everything's in the works. And I do believe, in about a month it should be out.
So who's in that band?
That is Duffy, myself, of course, Alan Hewitt, and David C. Johnson on bass.
On bass. Okay, so 4-piece you're going out as.
Yes, yeah.
Was it a 4-piece on the album, or did you use other people in there?
Nope, just the 4-piece. Yep.
Just
Yeah,
four
we're
guys.
pretty much. Yeah. We all four. It's kind of funny. We started this thing. Alan, the first song, One Step Closer. Alan sent me that. Had to be 2 years ago or more. Hey, I wrote this song. You want to goof around and put some drums to it? It's like a 7-minute song.
Right.
So I worked on it, real leisure, kind of for a couple of weeks, and then sent it to him, and then it went on to Duffy, and then he sent it on to David, and then it took forever. Then we get another one, and then all of a sudden we did a few of these, and he got some interest, and some labels were interested in it, and the next thing you know, hey, we got some bookings. We can do some stuff. So we're like, let's kick this thing into gear. So then it just became like, at least for me, I'm sure everyone, now it's priority every day. Let's get this thing recorded. So yeah, we kicked about 6 of them out, back to back over a few months, all remote, because of what's going on. But I think it turned out great. I'm very proud and honored to be part of it. I've never been obviously on a project like this before.
What I've heard from it so far sounds really good. Very good.
It's a lot of
Definitely harkens back to the older progressive sound, which I really like out of. There's one tune I heard that I really dug. It just had a lot of, I couldn't tell you the name of it. It might have been One Step Closer, but I'll probably put a couple of clips from those videos you let out through this video, because I just think it's fun and that's what I do.
Okay.
Very, very cool stuff. I did I'll probably steal a few clips from the cruise ship you did with One Nation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Let's
that's
talk,
fine.
cruise ships. This is your experience. I did cruise ships for 8 years.
Woo!
I started out as a drummer and I became a music director. And the cruise ship world is not like any, people think Vegas is one of those places where if it happens in Vegas, it stays in Vegas. If it happens on a cruise ship, it dies on a cruise ship. So it's just that is the place. So how was your experience in that world? It is definitely a game.
My first cruise was with the Moody's. The Moody
Oh, all
cruise.
right.
And never been on a cruise in my life. I do okay with motion sickness, although there was a couple of the cruises that were a little wobbly for me. But I'm not a people person, and I'm not a big hang and chat with everyone. So I pretty much just hung in my room, my cabin, or drifted around, and got to watch some of the bands that are, around every corner. So that was
Right.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I was in the orchestra, which was a straight up reading gig. And the toughest and coolest thing about it is you get a guy like Cuba Gooding, who the main ingredient, and he would come on by himself, and he wrote "Everybody Plays the Fool." You get that guy. But you would literally get the charts at like 5 o'clock. Shows it, and it was like yeah. So you have a small rehearsal when we do what we call tips and tails, where you just rehearse transitions, because you only had like 45 minutes to rehearse an hour and a half show. So just let's do, okay, there's a medley, this song's going into that, let's just make sure we tell the crew, well, don't come see the 8 o'clock show, see the 10. We'll have all the bugs worked out.
Yeah.
Because literally the 8 o'clock show was like a run through.
I paid rehearsal. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you couldn't sight read, you couldn't do that gig. You just had to be able to read it and, get as close. And even sight reading, you could get close, but you'd always miss something. Somewhere along the line, you'd miss something. But cruise ships are a very interesting place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done. And it's going to be even more interesting this time around,
Yeah, you're going out. When's your cruise now? It's the...
I forget the dates, but I know that it's in, I believe in.
Is that with Carnival or Royal Caribbean? Who's doing that cruise?
I'm not sure. One's with John and one's with One Nation. I'm not sure what the boats are.
Okay.
But they're the beginning of next year. Within a couple of weeks. I've heard they're both sold out. So hopefully everything will still.
Yeah. I'll look for them online just in case there's tickets or whatever. And I'll post links to them so that people, if there is anything left, they can grab them, because after 8 years, even though I've not gone back, I still have a fond place in my heart for my years on cruise ships.
Oh yeah, good grief, 8 years. So
Yeah.
So what's the longest you were ever out?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Good.
Yeah.
6 months on that boat. Now, did you dock during the 6 months?
Yeah. You can do whatever you want. Like, you just have to the rule was be sober for the show, right? And rehearsal, right? That was the thing.
Too much.
So as a musician, you really only worked between 2 and 3 hours a day, maybe 4, depending on what was happening that day, right? C days, you worked a little more. Sometimes you did 2 sets in the afternoon, 2 like little sets in the atrium or one of those places, but then you did the production show. Did what they call the fly-ons, right? And that would be the guy flying in from Vegas, whether that's Regis Philbin or Cuba Gooding or whoever was flying on, you do their show. Some shows were tough, some shows were easy. Sometimes you had a guy who was more of a comic, and you'd play 8 bars and then groove while he told the story, and that would be what you did. And you just waited for a cue to do the next 8 bars. Some shows, I'll tell you what, Billy, the Sinatra show that I got to do, which is no longer on Carnival, was kick ass. That was a great show. The show we did was 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I was a puddle of water at the end of that show every day. Yeah, it was just up-tempo stuff. We had a great singer. It was a great show to do. We had dancers and all that stuff. Very Vegas in those days. Carnival became more family now. They stayed away from the dancers and pasties and all that stuff. They don't do that so much anymore. But when I was doing it, was like, woohoo, let's have a good time. So you had.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
What year was this when you were doing this?
I boarded 2005 and I got off the ships around 2012. So it's a long time. And it's a long time. But, okay, so One Nation's going out this fall. We want people to look up for that and check out what's going on with that, because it's going to be a good thing. And do you have anything coming up with John Lodge in the near future?
Nothing other than that's set yet is just the cruise coming up next year. And we always do a few weeks either prior to or after, when we get back on land,
Right.
So that's looking like it's getting put together pretty well. But that's about it. So we're really hoping to ramp things up, for next year and hopefully keep as busy as possible.
Duffy was telling me about some possible Moody Blues things again.
That's always been in the works as well. They're always kicking that around, but I have heard nothing concrete at all. But there's always that possibility. So
Let me tell you, if I ever got to see a live version somewhere near me of Days of Future Past, I'd be the first online for that. Album is probably one of the greatest progressive rock
yeah,
ever in history.
I'm so glad I was able to be involved with that. The 50-year
Oh, man.
anniversary tour was amazing. Yeah, very cool.
Well, just an incredible piece of music.
Yeah,
Incredible.
live DVD that we did, in Canada with the live orchestra was really, that was amazing for me to sit in front of, because the orchestra was right behind me, just slightly elevated. Must have been
Oh, all right.
70 some pieces, and just the acoustic, magic and the movement, the air that was coming behind me was amazing. Yeah,
I can imagine. I can
never had
imagine.
that happen before, so that was awesome. Yeah.
The force of nature that a
Oh man,
orchestra exudes. Oh my God.
I'm smiling while I'm playing.
Yeah, and you kicking it around with the drum set. Oh man, I mean, for at least a month, if I had done that, my head would be about that big. That's for sure. You know what I mean? That's right. I did that. I've not seen that DVD, but I'm gonna have to order it. I'm gonna have to find where to go and order that because I need to watch.
That was
I need-
great.
Right.
And then we also played with at the Hollywood Bowl. They didn't film it, but we also did a live with the orchestra there, and those two gigs were like just amazing.
I could imagine. I would love to be at one of those shows if they happen again ever with an orchestra. That would be just amazing. And I would definitely send you a note to get backstage. So,
Yes, please do. Yes.
because now I've played with Duffy on several
Yes.
occasions, and I know you, so I should be backstage having a beer. So
Yep. You got the. Very cool.
well, Mr. Billy, I appreciate you doing this little.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
We try to have a little fun and make it fun for people who are not drummers or not musicians. And good success to you in the future. More
Thank you.
to you with Moody Blues or whatever other endeavor that comes your way.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
May luck bring more to you. No, you're welcome. It's still a relatively small channel, but with your help and you sharing it, it won't be small too much longer.
Right on.
Right? And if you ever talk to your guys and Martin Drummer wants to put some money into this, welcome.
Right on.